Hi, my name is Brandon Grant. I'm from Buffalo Grove, Illinois, and I study political science.
My name is Sherman. I'm from Northbrook, Illinois, and I'm a biology major.
I'm Micheal Levin from Deerfield, Illinois, and I'm an advertising major.
I'm Ethan Ash, also an advertising major from Evanston, Illinois.
We're all students from the University of Illinois studying abroad at Gustalab International Food Systems and Sustainability in Rome, Italy.
This video is created for a food and media course.
The main purpose of this video is to educate people on the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs for short.
Without realizing it, in very acute ways, on a daily basis, we have opportunities to help sustain the environment. Many of us still fail to do exactly this. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals aimed to be completed by the year 2030.
Today, we will be focusing specifically on SDG number 16.
SDG number 16 strives to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels.
Although all countries have different laws relating to various parts of their society, Goal 16 aims to strengthen every country's national institutions in order to prevent violence, crimes, and terrorism.
Events such as international homicide, violence against children, human trafficking, and sexual violence must be addressed so that institutions which are accountable for their actions can be built and maintained.
Institutions of high levels of government can have a huge impact on the severity of these problems, as these problems are prevalent all throughout the world.
Inclusive societies are a very important factor in ensuring that the SDGs are completed, as people need to be free of fear as they move about their lives.
One of the major targets of SDG 16 is to significantly reduce any forms of violence and related death rates everywhere.
Some of the United Nations proposed indicators to track these problems are violent injuries and deaths per 100,000 population and number of refugees.
We think that these are good indicators because countries with high violence rates usually produce more refugees.
There are currently at least 10 million stateless people who have been denied nationality, and it's related to rights. Stateless people are found all over the globe, in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, the Americas, etc. Statelessness is a man-made issue and has various different causes. This problem has been developing since the early 1900s and is driven by political conflict. SDG 16 is aiming to knock out statelessness in the next 10 years.
One of the major reasons SDG Goal 16 was put into place is to help the issue of people being displaced all across the globe.
In 2017, it was reported that 68.5 billion people have been removed from their homes. The reasons for displacement include persecution, conflict, violence, and human rights violations.
It is frightening to realize that across the world there was nearly 70 million people forcibly removed from their home in just 1 year. This is a major peace and justice issue that SDG 16 is directly looking to improve.
Another example of something SDG 16 is striving to fix is lack of birth registration across the globe, which is an issue occurring in nearly half of sub-Saharan African countries for children under the age of 5.
SDG 16 proposes that solutions need to provide a legal identity for all, including birth registration by 2030.
1 billion people cannot prove who they are and are legally invisible. This includes the estimated 625 million children who were not registered at birth.
Although there may not be a high percentage of violent crimes, such as violence against children, human trafficking, birth registration, etc., in America compared to other areas around the globe, like sub-Saharan Africa, the same principles apply to paying attention to the way government is responding to violence and injustice.
From countries not registering the birth of their child to those not accounting for the safety of their children, accountability needs to be demanded to force the hand of these issues, as children of today are facing brutal, unsafe, and unjust conditions that society and the world will not be able to sustain.
Another main goal of SDG 16 is to substantially reduce corruption and bribery in all their forms. Corruption, bribery, theft, and tax evasion cost developing countries is 1.26 trillion US dollars per year.
Corruption and bribery at the top levels of law enforcement and government branches such as the police and judiciary system, allow many of these crimes to continue to go unpunished.
This type of government corruption is tracked by communicating with business and government officials that reported being offered a bribe of any sort.
We believe that in many cases the American government lacks transparency and efficiency in terms of regulations put in place to help improve areas in our society that lack peace, safety, and inclusion.
As Americans, we need to hold our elected officials accountable, and the elected officials need to be open and honest. Worry about fixing the problem, not shifting the blame.
SDG 16 also touches on how for sustainable development to be possible, institutions across the world must promote and enforce non-discriminatory laws and policies.
Another important issue that SDG 16 is aiming to solve is the problem of domestic violence towards women. There are currently 49 countries in the world that lack laws protecting women from domestic violence.
SDG 16 is aiming to make sure that not a single country exists without laws protecting women for domestic violence, but that it must include nations allowing more women to have a say in the lawmaking. The gender inequality in national governments is astonishing.
In 46 different countries, women only hold slightly more than 30% of seats in a chamber of national government. Moreover, only 24% of national parliamentaries were women as of November 2018. Overall, it is clear that women have very little political impact worldwide, and SDG 16 is aiming to even out the political dominance between men and women.
Also, by disallowing many immigrants to enter the country legally, causes many groups to traffic in all humans, typically for some sort of payment in money or resources.
Discrimination within a country is hard to track, so the United Nations uses surveys to track what percent of the population has felt personally discriminated against within the past year.
Worldwide, an issue that has been relevant for much too long is the issue of terrorism. Whether this be domestic or international, there should never be room for terror in any country's mind, no matter the issue or dispute might be.
Any potential solution to terrorism begins with peace and the strengthening of important national institutions through international cooperation.
Strengthening a country's national institution by improving internal and international cooperation is necessary for Goal 16 to succeed.
Improving peace and justice in one's country starts at the top of the country's government and implementation of the government's institutions.
We think that Americans tend to focus on the specific problems that they face personally, rather than the national problems other communities are facing and how the government is responding to them.
We also believe that in many cases, the American government lacks transparency and efficiency in terms of regulations put in place to help improve areas in our society that lack peace, safety, and inclusion.
To sustain a safe society and a well-running one, the generations below us need to grow up in societies that promote peaceful ideas and emphasize the importance of inclusion, as they will then begin to reap the wonderful benefits diversity and inclusion can bring to one's country.
Development starts with the generations below us, allowing them to grow up in these types of environments.
It is the future generations that will have to deal with both the consequences and the benefits that will come from the way our generation handles the issues centered around SDG 16. And if our generation does not act now and take initiative against injustice and violence, these crimes that can destroy communities and societies will only continue to grow and spread.
The lack of justice that currently goes on in all countries will only keep the current conflicts in the forefront of every society.
Citizens need to be willing and able to call out people in power and national institutions such as the judiciary and police that have continued to abuse their power, as those institutions are always going to be less capable of delivering justice and proper service to their people.
No matter the country, even the ones that are powerful democracies have major issues and challenges they must face when it comes to corruption, crime, and
In conclusion, Sustainable Development Goal 16 strives to strengthen institutions and create a safe society for people from all backgrounds in all places of the world.
We hope that you all learned something through our conversation about SDG 16 and can apply some of what we spoke about to your country and community.
Thank you for listening today.